Okay, this lesson covers the Pythagorean theorem. You know the Pythagorean theorem as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We've already been over this, so this is going to go quick. So when you have a triangle, the two legs are here and here. They connect at the right angle. And the hypotenuse, which is c, is always the longest side. So to solve this one, you go a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So that would be 5 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared or x squared. 25 plus 144 equals x squared. When you add them, you get 169. To get x by itself, you have to get rid of the square root, so you take the square root of both sides, and x would be equal to 13. Now, because that's a whole unit, a whole number, then you now have identified a Pythagorean triple. A Pythagorean triple is the short leg, long leg, and hypotenuse written in order, like this. It's a Pythagorean triple when all three numbers are whole units or whole numbers. So 5, 12, 13, that's a Pythagorean triple. You always put it in the order of short leg, long leg, hypotenuse. Now let's do this one. If I look at the picture carefully, what's missing is one of the legs. So I can either let this be A or B. I'll let it be A. So I'm going to go a squared plus b squared equals c squared. X squared plus 12 squared equals 14 squared. X squared plus 144 equals, if you're not sure what 14 squared is, go 14 squared, 196. Subtract 144. If you're not sure what it is, then just do it in the calculator. And 52. Now to solve for x, you take the square root. X is equal to the square root of 52. So now you have to do what we did up here, which is simplify the radical. So we start with our factor list. That will not divide into 52. This won't, this won't, this won't, this won't. 4 does. 52 divided by 4 would be 13. So 4 times 13, which means it's going to be 2 square roots of 13. So the answer is 2 square roots of 13. And since it's not a Pythagorean triple, we also want to get that as a decimal. So I can type in the square root of 52, which is approximately 7.2. So your job is to identify the perfect squares, the ones that come out to be a Pythagorean triple, and identify them. And if it's not a Pythagorean triple, then simplify the radical and get your decimal, get 2 answers, okay? Try to do these 2 now on your own. And then let's go to the next section. This is the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. It says, what kind of triangle is formed with the following side lengths? So we're looking at this carefully, and we're trying to figure out what type of triangle is formed. So here's the rule. If it's a right triangle, then you know that c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. If it's an acute triangle, then you'll get this relationship. C squared is less than a squared plus b squared. And if it's an obtuse triangle, then you know that c squared is going to be greater than a squared plus b squared. So that's your chart. Tells you what type of triangle it's going to be. So we have 3 lengths of the triangle. I know from what we talked about in the Pythagorean theorem that the longest side would represent the hypotenuse. So I'm going to go 25 squared, put a bubble for your sign, will equal 18 squared plus 15 squared. 25 squared is 625. Bubble, 18 squared plus 15 squared is 549. If these are equal, then it would be a right triangle because the Pythagorean theorem would be true. Since 625 is greater than a squared plus b squared, 549, we now know it's an obtuse, this would form an obtuse triangle. Now, you're going to work out number 12 on your own. Next problem, find the area of the isosceles triangle. You have to use the Pythagorean theorem here. You know that if this is isosceles, then that's a right angle. And if this is 16, then half of that would be 8. If this is 8 and this is 8, you now have a right triangle that has a hypotenuse of 17 and a short leg of 8. Use the Pythagorean theorem to find h. Once you find h, then you find the area by using the area formula of a triangle, which is 1/2 base times height. So it'd be 1/2 times the base of the triangle, which is 16, times whatever this height ends up being. And you can figure that out. A rectangle has dimensions of 8 and 15. Draw your picture. Find the length of the diagonal. So obviously that's a right triangle. You're going to look for the hypotenuse, which is C. So go ahead and finish the front of this. Make sure you understand it. Finish the back, simplifying all the radicals, all the square roots, and then start your homework in Big Ideas Math. This will be assignment number 9, and number 10 will be in Big Ideas Math. Thanks.